Okay, how's everybody doing this evening? My name is Kent, the channel is EOS San Diego, and I make videos about the EOS blockchain. And I want to talk a little bit tonight about block producers, because I think block producers are an interesting part about EOS. And of course, we are block producers. We're EOS San Diego #1. I mention it quite often on this channel because we're independent block producers, and as block producers, we're trying to get people to vote for us. The more people that vote for us, the higher we move up the number. And of course, only the top 21 are block producers. And I think the top 80, 75, 80 earn rewards, and everybody else doesn't make anything. They just run the node. And of course, we're one of those that just run a node. We're not earning rewards. But I want to talk a little bit about block producers for EOS and why this is an interesting concept. Block producers, the top 21 block producers that run the chain, which are the validators that run the chain, this is the heart and soul of EOS. Because in the dedicated proof of stake concept protocol that Dan Larimer has designed, that is how the chain operates. And it's not run because these people do a mathematical problem or hashing or anything like that to earn that position. They actually get voted into that position by the stakeholders, the people that own the token, like you and me and everybody else. But there's an interesting balance between the people that are block producers earning rewards and doing things more or less to try to give themselves better positioning, give themselves an advantage to earn those top 21 positions. So in other words, they're able to do things. And one of the ways I would say that would happen was with an exchange. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about it. Like if I buy EOS on an exchange and I hold my EOS in an exchange, basically the exchange can use my EOS token to vote for however they want to vote. I mean, they may be able to vote for themselves directly, or they may be able to vote directly for somebody else, but have some sort of an arrangement for that to happen. Now, if you read basically, I don't know how well that's defined. I know you can't buy votes. That's pretty well established in the EOS Constitution. But how well this works out is kind of interesting, and how it's playing out is very interesting, because this is how EOS runs. And in my mind, and you know, really as an exchange, you have a lot of advantages, especially if you hold in a lot of EOS for somebody. And the thing I'm starting to maybe think about is maybe people don't really care. Maybe people don't care if they hold their EOS in an exchange, if the exchange is voting for them as individuals, and the exchange is voting the way they want to vote. In fact, I saw in the referendum, I think, that was one of the referendum questions, and actually people were agreeing with that. Hey, if I put my EOS in an exchange and the exchange uses my EOS to vote the way they want to vote, is that okay? Well, it sounds like that's been something that's been, people have been okay with. I mean, and really when you think about it, if you're not really that involved with it, maybe you don't care. I mean, I got it on such and such exchange, and they just vote for whoever they want to vote for, even if it benefits them or benefits somebody else, then I have no problem with that. I have no problem with that. But this is an interesting thing, and I actually think it's a mathematical problem, because there's a balancing act going on between making the EOS blockchain block producers, how should I say this? Making it so that it's beneficial for them to be block producers, because they actually have to spend money to do that. They have to have server space, they have to, you know, build projects and everything like that. So it's beneficial for them to be rewarded, but maybe not so much that they are rewarded to a point where they become more interested in the rewards than they do by building the chain or keeping the chain going or making the chain better. That's an interesting issue, and that's where I think we're going with this, and how much people care where or who runs the chain and who receives the rewards for the blockchain. And I think this is going to play out in the future in an interesting way. I've thought several ways how this may finally play out, but I kind of think perhaps in the future that people probably will take a greater interest in their voting interest. Right now, people are still trying to figure out how to vote. People don't know who to vote for. People don't know the issues. People don't know who the block producers are. The chain is brand new. Nobody understands it very well. So right now, hey, I don't care. I got it on exchange. Let the exchange do whatever they want with it. But then the exchange becomes dominant in block producing, and they become kind of a factor in how well it's ran. And if it's run in the best interest of everybody that owns a token. This is interesting. And the other thing that's really interesting about this whole thing is that this is really what makes it go, is the proof of stake over the proof of work. Proof of work concept is really difficult because there's a scalability problem. So if you're going to give over that problem to 21 block producers, and I think Larimer came up with this idea through all of his previous Steam it, and knowing kind of the number to figure out would be a good number to work with. And I think he came up with 21 based on previous projects. But to get to a point where the block producers kind of have a vested interest in it enough to where they want to do well for the chain, but they also want to, it's also to a point where they're not going to be, let's say, lack of a better word, corrupt. So, this is an interesting issue. And I think it's going to play out in the future in an interesting way. And I don't know really quite what it was. Like I said, I think people will probably take a greater interest in their voting, because that's the only fair way it can be done, is by vote. Vote is the only fair way it can be done. And if you own the token, you should be able to have an interest in how the chain is run, and you should use that interest. It's kind of like everything else in a democracy. Democracy doesn't work unless you use a vote. So I think people should be more careful with where their vote is and how they use it, and actually using the vote. And I think that will be will help EOS to. It'll get rid of a lot of these side issues that are going on right now. Not to mention the fact that I think there's going to be new blockchains using the EOS IO software, the open source software, that are going to come about because of the problems with the block producers, because people don't like the way the block producers are being chosen right now. I mean, I'm not real sure how much other stuff is going on with other chains as far as that's concerned. I've heard a little bit about it, but I'm so involved with EOS, it's hard for me to know much about other chains. But I do know that the EOS blockchain has been an issue before because of the block producers. It's, how the rewards are being distributed, and how the rewards and how the positions are being gained, and so on and so forth. A very interesting topic, and I think that it's going to play out interesting in the future. I think it will work out so that there will be a nice balancing act between people that are honest, and then also the people that are well paid for what they get, for what they do. I'm looking for that to all work out in the future. But it's been interesting, and this is one of the reasons why it takes a little time for all this information, all this stuff to settle out and see how it functions, how it plays out actually in the real world and not theoretically. So, interesting topic. I appreciate you watching.